So, for those listening who may not understand why our speeches are so pivotal, particularly in intervention as a child and supporting assessments or doing assessments, could you speak a little bit about the fact that we're not just about speech? Because when I say to people, you need to see a speech pathologist, they're like, but there's nothing wrong with how I talk.
Yes.
And then I have to unpack why it's really important that we're included. But it'd be great to hear your perspective on it.
So, I mean, dyslexia and, learning of literacy really stems from the language system. And, in Australia, we're called speech pathologists, but in the US and the UK, we're called speech language pathologists or therapists. So I think it's really important to have that language component in our name. But really, we're communication specialists. So by calling us speech pathologists, it is a very narrow term, and it does mean that a lot of people don't really understand the scope of our practice. But because we are very much professionals that have expertise in the language, speech and language system, and literacy comes from the language system. And dyslexia itself actually stems from some of the underlying core deficit areas in dyslexia can be related to what we call phonological processing. And phonological essentially means the speech sound system. So the difficulties of dyslexia, where they actually stem from, those underlying core areas of difficulty, stem from difficulties with our speech sound system. So we very much are the people who have that strong underlying knowledge of the speech sound system of language. And really, it's the speech sound system and the connection between the speech sound system and the written system that is one of the main difficulties in dyslexia. If the child is very young, and we know that there are a lot of risk factors that we can see even in the very, very early years before a child's even started the formal education and formal teaching of literacy. So, for example, if you've got a child in the preschool years who's not playing around with sounds in words, not picking up nursery rhymes, that's an area known as phonological awareness, and it is one of the core deficit areas in dyslexia. So if they're starting school or in preschool, they're not able to talk about the sounds in words. They're not able to say, play I spy. So I spy with my little eye something beginning with P. You can do it with sounds or you can do it with letters P. If they struggle with that, that's in the early years, that can be an indicator. And so if they've got those difficulties, that's the kind of thing that we would be looking at.